An imperfect but honest conversation about colorism.
Could somebody please make it make sense?
Hey everybody, welcome to A Pop of Culture. I'm your host, the Esoteric and Facetious, and this is A Pop of Culture, which is my video essay podcast where I speak on pop culture, social justice, and the human experience from a Black, bisexual, millennial, Gen Z perspective. Everything, and I mean everything I say, should be taken with a grain of salt as I'm simply a recent college grad with access to a recording device and the internet. So let's get into it. So in today's video, I want to talk about colorism, my views on colorism and activism on social media based on colorism, my feelings on colorism and the Black community. So let's get into it. So before we get into this video, I want to acknowledge I am a Black American man. I am not light skinned. I'm not a lighter skinned person, but I'm also not somebody who's on the darker end of the spectrum. So as someone who's in between, who's not light skinned, but who's not on the deeper end of the spectrum, when it comes to these colorism conversations, I'm not somebody who's experienced a lot of the negativity, the brunt of colorism. I haven't really experienced a lot of that. So I don't want to speak over people who are darker than me, who've had negative experiences that they want to speak to and that they want to share. I don't want to speak over those people. I just wanted to address that before I get into speaking about colorism. I'm not invalidating anybody's experience. Colorism is real. Colorism is something that occurs in every industry, in every space. It's not something that is just a Hollywood thing. It's something that people experience on their jobs, in romantic situations. It's not just something that happens in Hollywood. It's something that's in almost every aspect of life. So I just want to make that clear. Colorism is real and alive. So let's get into it. So one of my biggest issues with the colorism conversation is I feel we're not necessarily, as a collective, I'm speaking as a Black American, but this applies to Black people in general throughout the diaspora. My issue with Black people and colorism is I feel like there aren't a lot of actionable steps that I see people taking. I feel like what I'm seeing a lot is people trauma bonding with one another. And what I mean by that is I see a lot of content creators. If anybody says something colorist, they're making a video. If somebody discriminates against a dark-skinned woman, they're making a video. I don't have an issue with people talking about colorism, sharing their experiences with colorism. But my issue is I'm starting to see some content creators who are using their platforms solely to push negative stories about colorism. I feel like they're building this community where people are starting to trauma bond with one another, where basically it's just a bunch of people who've been negatively impacted by colorism who are sharing space with one another. And there's nothing wrong with sharing space with people who have similar struggles to you. I think the problem is some of these creators who speak about colorism, they solely focus on the negative. A dark-skinned woman gets rejected in public in front of a bunch of people. She gets called ugly by a rapper. A rapper says that dark-skinned women are ugly, and they make videos on that. But I feel some of these content creators, they don't focus on, oh my gosh, this beautiful dark-skinned woman, she just got a role in a new TV show. Oh my gosh, this beautiful dark-skinned woman, she just got proposed to, and he had a whole aquarium, he had an orchestra, and he had people playing, and he had a beautiful dinner with her, and everything went well. I feel like some people are starting to make colorism their hustle. They're making colorism their bag, where basically they know I'm going to find stories that make it appear that dark-skinned Black women can't win in life. I'm going to share those stories with an audience of people who have had negative experiences because of their dark skin, and I'm going to keep us all in this cycle of trauma. Whereas I could make content that speaks authentically to the experiences of dark-skinned people and the struggles of dark-skinned people that show the good and the bad. But I feel like some people have gotten some good AdSense checks, and I feel like now they're prioritizing making a bag over this cyclical trauma, and they're not really focusing on uplifting dark-skinned women and making dark-skinned women feel like they're good enough. I'm going to be focusing more on dark-skinned women in this video because I feel like a lot of the colorism activists are dark-skinned women rather than dark-skinned men, because I feel like dark-skinned women experience colorism differently than dark-skinned men. I feel like dark skin on a Black man is oftentimes seen as a positive trait versus when it's on a dark-skinned woman, dark skin is seen as a negative trait. But going back to the content creators, I feel there's nothing wrong with Black women, dark-skinned Black women, holding space with one another, talking with one another about their struggles and their experiences. But I feel like the issue I'm seeing is some of these content creators, like I said, they're making a bag on colorism, where every week I'm going to seek out situations where dark-skinned women are being oppressed, where dark-skinned women are being put down. And I feel like these people, they're putting their audience into the state of mind where dark-skinned women can't win, where dark-skinned women can't do this, they can't do that, because they're constantly coming out with stories that paint this picture that dark-skinned women can't win, Whereas there are great things happening for dark-skinned women, and they could focus on, oh my goodness, this dark-skinned woman did this great thing, or this great thing happened to this dark-skinned woman. I feel like some colorism-based content creators don't focus on the good, they only focus on the bad, which increases the trauma, and I feel like it just puts people into this negative spiral. And I'll talk about that. One reference I want to make is a reference to me watching certain content creators like Walter Lee Hampton. I have no hate towards Walter Lee Hampton. If I met him, I would shake his hand. He is an older Black gay man who makes content about his experiences, the Black community, different stuff like that. But one of the things I'll say about Walter's past content is he would focus a lot on negative stories. He would report on Black woman is infected with HIV, old woman is carjacked. He would focus so much on these negative stories, and those negative stories should be shared and should be discussed, because if it happened to this old lady, it could happen to you, and you need to be prepared to deal with that if somebody tries to jack you up. So I don't think there's an issue with people like Walter discussing those stories, but one of the issues I had with Walter's content is when I am winding down and when I'm trying to chill and relax, I want to watch a YouTube video where I laugh a little, where I have a good time, where, you know, I get a kiki. And so I guess my thing with people like Walter is, so much of his content was people are dying of COVID, the housing market is terrible, old lady got carjacked again, innocent Black man was cooking dinner for himself and his date and somebody came and shot him. I can't take that content in all the time because it forms this idea in my head that the world I live in is just negative stuff. I remember in a sociology class I was in, it's this kind of like this mean world syndrome where basically if you only intake negative information and negative news stories, you start to believe the world is more dangerous than it is, even though there's less violent crime going on, because a lot of energy is put towards these stories of murders and rapes and different things like that. People tend to think the world is a worse place than it is. And I feel like that's kind of what I'm seeing with some of these colorism content creators, because some of them focus so much on, oh my gosh, this rapper said something negative about dark-skinned women, this lighter-skinned woman says something negative about dark-skinned people, because that's the content they create. Every time their dark-skinned audience members pull up on their channel, every time they click on a video, they get this idea in their head that dark-skinned women are not it, dark-skinned women are not desired, dark-skinned women are not preferred. And the problem with that is dark-skinned women are desired, dark-skinned women are preferred, but when you only focus on those situations where dark-skinned women are being put down, it puts it in your head that dark-skinned women can't win, that dark-skinned women aren't desired, aren't preferred. That's the struggle when it comes to stuff like colorism, and that's like all these other issues and isms. There are people who don't prefer dark-skinned women, but there are people who do prefer dark-skinned women, and if you only focus on those people who don't, then you're never going to find the people who do, or you're going to have a more difficult time finding the people who do. And I want to talk about a concept that I came up with when I was thinking about this when I was driving the car, and it's this concept of the switch. I feel like some colorism-based content creators, they don't realize it, but their content pushes the switch in their audience's brains. So here's the normal and I think healthy mindset that people should have when it relates to colorism. And I'm not going to tell people how to feel, but this is how I feel is the most healthy response to have. If I'm a dark-skinned person, I have to understand there may be challenges in my life because I'm a dark-skinned person. Things may not come as easy to me because I'm a dark-skinned person, but I have the capability to achieve my goals and dreams if I put the work in and continue to put the work in. But I'm seeing people, because of this constant negative content, where people are cherry picking out situations where dark-skinned women are not preferred and where they're being bashed. There is a switch where the switch goes from, I can make it, I can win in life, I can have the success even if it may be more difficult or not as easy as it would be if I was a biracial or lighter skinned person. But that switch is being turned because of all of this trauma-based content and trauma bonding, where I'm starting to see dark-skinned women feel like no matter what I do, I can't win in life. I can't go into entertainment. I can't be in this field. I can't receive a promotion in this field. I can't be preferred. I can't be desired. It's like that mean world syndrome. When all you hear about is rapes, murders, and kidnapping, you start to feel like you can't trust anybody and the whole world is crime and rape and killing and kidnapping. When the reality is there's good things that happen as well, but those things may not be reported on as much. I feel like some of those content creators who do focus on more of the negative stuff, they may or may not realize it, but they're taking people who may have had hope in their life and who may have believed that they could make it and succeed in life, and they're turning that switch to that no matter what I do, I can't win in life because I'm dark-skinned. Here's the complicated thing. You may be a dark-skinned person and you may have some not so positive experiences when it comes to dating or career or this or that. And the struggle, I feel, is some people, they're going to take that struggle and they're not going to internalize it, where let's say you're somebody who's a dark-skinned woman who's an actress and you may be struggling with auditions and you may not be getting all the roles that you want. I feel like there is this divide where some people, they're going to keep that switch this way, even if people are saying, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't act and I don't think that you have the right look. There are some people who are going to stay here on this side and persist and believe I can do it, I can make it, I can keep going and I can win no matter what my complexion is. But there are some people who, because of their negative experiences, they're going to go into this way of I can't do it, I can't win, I can't do this, I can't do that. And I feel like that's the hard part about these colorism conversations. I feel like sometimes it's just somebody on TikTok sharing an experience they had relating to colorism, and it's just that. They are on this side of I still can win, I still can do it, I still can succeed in life, but this was just a bad experience I had. But then there's also people who it seems like because of their negative experiences and also sometimes because of the negative experiences that they constantly see related to dark-skinned women because of these content creators who only put out content that speaks about the negative experiences that dark-skinned women experience. And this is something I find very interesting because people always say this stuff about, oh, well, I don't want to watch another slave movie. I don't want to watch another movie about black people being beaten and whipped and in pain and struggling. But I feel like people don't have that same energy for content creators. They'll say that about, I don't want another movie from Hollywood about black people in pain, but they won't say, I don't want another YouTube video about a black woman who's dark skinned not being preferred. And I feel like we have to have that energy, we have to have that mindset. And I'm not saying people can't speak out about colorism and colorism happening and colorism being real. I think we have to have balance where if you're talking about a dark skinned woman being rejected at a club, also talk about a dark skinned woman, you know, being favored in a club. And I'm not saying that it's always every single week going to be one good story and one negative story, but I feel like we have to seek out those positive stories. We have to seek out that positive representation. And I'm saying that as somebody who is a black bi man, I don't always see black bi men who are in happy long-term relationships. But if I seek that information out, if I look for it, I can find it. But if I just want to find the negative, I can find the negative too. If I want to find the lack, I can find the lack too. So I guess that's my thing with colorism representation on social media. I feel like some content creators, they put people into the spiral of negativity because they only point out content that's negative. And I feel like they can push that switch where dark-skinned women who had optimism, who had hope, they watch enough of this content and their switch goes to that other side where they feel they can't make it, they can't win. I feel like colorism-based content creators need to have a mix of positive and negative because I feel like when you keep showing negative stories and negative experiences over and over and over again, people can feel like that's all there is. That's all it is to be a dark-skinned woman, is to not be preferred. And the problem with that is that's not true. There are plenty of dark-skinned women who are winning in entertainment, in other industries, and when it comes to love and romance. It's like I said, that mean world syndrome, but it's this like colorism world syndrome. Because here's the thing, a lot of times people who are happy and fulfilled may not be posting on the internet. So I may have a cousin who is dark-skinned, who is in a happy relationship, who is winning in life, in her career, and doing great things, but she may not necessarily feel the need to post videos about her positive experiences as a dark-skinned woman, but there may be a dark-skinned woman who's having negative experiences and she feels the need to post content. And both women's experiences are valid, but the young dark-skinned girl who's on YouTube who wants to find content about being dark-skinned and being a dark-skinned woman, my theoretical cousin who's having a positive experience and who has endured colorism but didn't let colorism take over her life, when that young dark-skinned girl logs on to YouTube, she's not going to see her experience because she doesn't feel the need to speak to her experience. But the people who had a more negative experience, who feel the need to speak to their experience, she's going to be exposed to their content. So she's only going to see a not so positive outcome. She's not going to see the positive outcomes from people who have had negative experiences but who haven't allowed those experiences to control them. And of course, there are dark-skinned women who have had positive experiences who are posting online, but I definitely feel people who've had more negative experiences have more to say. I feel like the people who are the most hurt from colorism are the ones who are the most vocal. So I feel like those people are the ones who are impacting young black girls who are dealing with colorism. I feel like the stories and experiences of all black women who are dark-skinned who have dealt with colorism are valid, but I feel like some people who have had a more overwhelmingly negative experience, I feel like they're the ones who are the loudest. So we're not really getting this full spectrum of what it's like to be a dark-skinned woman who has to deal with colorism. We're getting a lot more of the hurt people and the upset people and the unhealed people versus the people who have dealt with colorism but who are at peace with their life and who believe in spite of colorism they can win. Thanks for watching. Like this video if you like this video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the points I made in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, definitely like, comment, subscribe, and share. That way, even if YouTube isn't pushing my content, those who resonate with it are sharing it so it can connect with others who would enjoy it. Those are some easy, free ways to support a pop of culture. If you want to support this show financially, feel free to send a tip to my Cash App or buy me a cup of coffee, both are linked below. All who donate will be featured in the credits of my long-form commentary and cover videos. There are 2 playlists that are going to pop up, one where you can binge watch my covers and one where you can binge watch my commentary. Enjoy. Bye-bye.